Good morning, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. Today, I have a few tips about using your looper pedal effectively that I'm going to share with you. So I'm sure the same thing happens to a lot of guitarists out there. You'll be watching some videos, some guys playing some really awesome live looping kind of jam thing, lots of layers. You're just stacking those guitar parts together and making it sound great. So you get online and you buy yourself a loop pedal as fast as you can. You wait patiently for it to show up in the mail. You plug it in, and then you realize looping is a lot harder than you had initially thought. It's not the most intuitive thing ever to punch in and punch out of a loop with really good timing, even if you think that your sense of rhythm is really good. It's just one of those things you'll have to practice quite a bit before you'll be really proficient at looping cleanly. And even if you don't have a great sense of rhythm to start with, practicing this with the looper is a great way to improve. Okay, so now I'm going to demonstrate. One of the very first and very most important things that you want to remember is to keep your foot up and close to the looper pedal. Keep it right there. Hover your toe or your foot right above the button and ready to click it on and click it off. Having a very short and crisp click of that foot switch is going to be very essential to keeping your loop in time. So the easiest way to get started here is to just count along the rhythm to whatever you're playing. Start out with something in 4/4 first, so it's easy time to count, and just go 1, 2, 3, 4, record, 2, 3, 4, stop, 2, 3, 4. So you want to stomp the pedal on the second 1 count to start it, and also stomp the pedal on the third 1 count to stop it. And this doesn't have to be the 1 beat every time. It doesn't really matter. You could use the 2 beat or the 3 beat. All that matters is that you remember which beat you started the recording on. That way you can also stop the recording on the same beat the next time that the phrase repeats. Doing this with the proper tempo is very crucial too. It may not matter so much with shorter passages, but if you start looping longer phrases that are, say, 8 bars, 12 bars, you'll find that it's a lot harder to keep the loop at the consistent tempo from the start to the finish. So when it loops back around to the second repeat, you're going to get this really awkward moment where it goes from being either too fast to a lot slower, or the other way around. So practicing good tempo with this stuff is very important. I'm not exactly the greatest myself when it comes to longer loops. I still struggle with this a little bit too. So, I think it's important for everybody to practice along with a metronome or with a steady drum beat like a drum machine or something like that, just to really drive home and reinforce the timing and the tempo of it. It's easy to think that you're pretty good at this stuff, but then when you actually practice to a metronome, you'll realize that your rhythm skills probably aren't quite as up to snuff as you thought they were. So this is different for every looper, but my looper happens to have a cool metronome. It's more like a rhythm track that you can play along with. And it stays in perfect tempo, of course, and you can set the tempo to whatever you want. It has all sorts of different drum sounds and beats that you can use with it. It's pretty useful. Your particular looper may not have this function if you have a cheaper, more basic model. I have the Boss RC300, and it has a lot of features. So if you don't have this, something else I also like to use is just the default Google metronome app. The one that appears when you just type metronome into the search bar on your phone. It'll pop up a little app at the top of the search results with a very basic metronome. And it's rather quite good, actually. There are also some metronome apps that are available for mobile devices. I don't have one in particular that I'd recommend myself. I just don't find myself using it very often. And when I do, I just use the simple one from the Google search results, or I use something from my computer or something else from my hardware. So anyway, that's enough talk about it. Let's get down to demonstrating here. I'm just going to lean down here and I'll push my tempo start button. Nice little drum track there, right? So we want to count along to it. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and, right? So we know where we're going to start and we know where we're going to stop. Let's think of a little guitar riff to play along to this too. Just something really simple. I'll just do 1 chord. Okay. Okay, we'll get ready to loop it. Make sure you get your foot right there and cocked and ready. And we'll just count it and play that riff. 1, 2, and 3, and 4. 1, and 2, and 3, and 4. Start and 2, and 3, and 4. And stop and 2, and 3. Pretty cool, right? Let's go ahead and repeat that. Again, get ready. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and record and 2 and 3 and 4 and stop and 2. Yeah, pretty cool. So practicing that with the metronome makes it quite a bit easier. Actually, there's something that my Boss RC300 looper here does, and that's when the rhythm mode is engaged. It actually makes it so the end of the loop is sort of tied to the end of the rhythm phrase. It won't let you do a loop that's too long or too short by default. So it's kind of cheating. It's kind of the easy mode with my looper a little bit. Let me show you now how to do it without the rhythm track in place, just doing it with the guitar and nothing else. Again, get your foot ready and count it. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and record and 2 and 3 and 4 and stop and 2. Yeah, pretty nice. So you can practice it both ways and just make that part of your practice session. Every time you sit down with your guitar and plug it into the looper pedal, just try that out a few times. It will guaranteed improve your sense of rhythm with starting and stopping your loops. That's good, and that's going to work out well if you want to start a loop during a song seamlessly, but then what about the other way around? What about if we already have a loop going and we want to end the loop and we want to carry on with playing the rest of the song without having there be a pause or a gap there? That can actually be deceptively difficult to do as well. So what we'll do instead is while the loop is playing, we'll count along, and then we'll figure out where to stop it on that next one beat while the loop is playing. We'll count along, we'll just figure out that point where we're going to punch out and just count it and hit it right in rhythm. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and start and 2 and 3 and 4 and stop. And 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and there you go. I do this pretty often with guitar solos and stuff, so the ending of my guitar solo phrase will also end on the last chord of the phrase that the looper is playing. So basically when it's about to switch out of the loop, you just copycat the chord that's playing through the looper, and then while you're doing that, you just sneak over and you switch the looper off. And if you do that with pretty good timing, then it'll be pretty hard for people to notice that the looper chord dropped out while the chord that you're playing picked up that slack. So it's a pretty good way to do your transitions without having to think about the counting or anything like that. You're just in the moment and you can't be bothered to think about it right then. So let's start another loop. This time we're going to do a few chords. We're going to end on this chord up here, and that's going to be what we grab also while we're playing the lead when we transition out of it. So just kind of watch carefully what I'm doing here. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and start. 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and You catch how I did that? How I kind of took over with this power chord right at the end of my little solo bit that I did, and right then I smashed that stop button, and then I carried on with the riff. I'll demonstrate that just one more time for clarity's sake. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and boom, boom, boom. might come back on another video and give you some more exercises and some more examples of this, go a little bit more in depth with this concept, but for right now I just thought I would give a little bit of a quick tip for people who are trying to get started. Another thing that's going to help you out a lot that I should mention before I leave here is that depending on which looper you have, you might have some extra functionality built into your looper to help you start and stop these loops with better timing. One function that's pretty common to see is like an auto start, kind of like an auto punch in. So you can set the looper so it's armed and ready, and then when it hears you strike a chord, then it will start looping as soon as it detects that spike in the volume. And kind of the reverse of that idea, some loopers will also have an auto stop mode. That way as soon as you start it, then it starts ticking away at the rhythm, and then based on the internal metronome and the internal clock, then it knows how long to make a measure. It knows how long to wait before it starts looping, and it will always be a perfect measure in time to your metronome, as long as you were performing your instrument in the right tempo too. So that's all for this time. Hopefully this video has helped you use your looper pedal much more effectively than before. Stay tuned for more music and more education, and I hope you all have fun out there.